Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity. How's it going, my squids? Today we're going to be reviewing Sekiro. It's been a while since it's actually been out, so I have a general grasp, not even a general, probably a way more of a grasp on what the hell this game is, and it is honestly one of the most intense games I've played since Dark Souls, obviously, but it is an ungodly amount of hard. Now, just right out the gate, as always, I'm going to tell you guys, it's a great game. Honestly, it's a good game, but it is for the person that enjoys that level of abuse. If you have a girlfriend that if you come home 1 minute late and she's out there throwing fucking cardboard boxes at you and kicking you in the nuts, then this is the game for you. If you live in a Latino household and if you come home late and they beat you over the head with a chancla, then this is the game for you. If you live in a white home and you try and yell at your kid, but then your kid yells back at you and then slaps you across the face, then this game is for the parent. So in all honesty, the game is kind of just for a particular someone. If you don't like playing Dark Souls, if you don't like incredibly hard video games, and this is kind of just probably not right up your alley, because this game can be a serious amount of just absolute insanity, and it will drive you to the point of tears and just punching walls and just until you get a grasp of the mechanics, it can definitely put you in some kind of level of stress that is just unbearable. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and open up with the story. So from what I gather, the story is a very just kind of all over the place type of thing. I've been paying attention, at least trying to pay attention, but you know, it's a Souls game realistically, and you kind of have to dive deep into the exploration and then talk to people to get an idea of what the fuck is even going on. And then there's a lot of YouTubers out there that will, you know, break down the Sekiro storyline if you really want to get in depth, but it's one of those situations where, you know, you're more focused on the combative aspects and you're more focused on the gameplay versus the story. The story is present there, and it's actually beautifully crafted and very nice, like cutscenes, and the voice acting is great, both the Japanese and the English. Surprisingly, I haven't heard anything else, so I can't speak for that. But for the most part, everything is perfect and it fits right. Like I said, it's hard for me to explain it because I don't exactly understand a lot of it because I haven't dived too deep into it. It's just one of those situations that, oh, hey, pretty cutscene with a lot of fighting. That's just where I'm at. So it's a little hard to explain that, but at least it is present. Now let's talk about the gameplay, which is just an absolute just amazing, just crazy tactics that you can pull off. You've got stealth aspects, you've got just crazy, I'm gonna rush you down and beat the shit out of you. You've got, you know, cheese strats, you can speed run this game. You have all sorts of different tactics, the way you can work out how to murder a boss. You know, you can approach it in many different ways, and that is one of the best things that you can have in a video game, especially when it's single player, is having options. The more tools and options that I have at my disposal when it comes to getting rid of a boss or getting through mobs or whatever, the better the game is, because now I can get fancy, you know, and it adds that level of replayability. That's why Dark Souls was such a great game, because you had such high replayability. Like, you could do one run, full strength or whatever. You could do another run, just run magic or something like that. There was a lot of replayability, and this game still maintains those aspects, but in a different form. Instead of it being around like base statistics like strength, agility, magic, all that other stuff, it's more about what type of style of gameplay do you want. Are you gonna go with, like, let's say, shit, I don't even remember what the hell they're called. We're just gonna call it the skill tree. So once you unlock the skill tree, you essentially have multiple different trees that you can run. You can go with like the Ashina style, you can go with like the weird like Senpo style, you can do a lot of different stuff and decide how you want to approach your enemies and how you want to dispose of them. And that's one of those things where it's like it adds that level of replayability, because it's like, okay, I went the Senpo style the first time, now the second time I'm gonna go through the Ashina style, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this and then to do that, and you can like mix up the boss fights, and if you want to go, I'm gonna go murder Lady Butterfly first, then I'm gonna go do that, or I'm gonna go destroy Gyobu the horseman, then I'm gonna go do that. There's just a lot of options that adds a bunch of replayability, and it's just such a good thing, and especially with it only being single player, which we'll talk about my pet peeve with that here in a moment, but with it being only single player, I'm glad there's so many options that you guys can have in order to just kind of have fun with it and do whatever the hell you want. Now, when it comes to the combat, it's very versatile. You have a lot of different things that you can be, like, using. You've got two initial swords. You've got the Mortal Blade, and you've got, you know, Sekiro's Natural Blade. I forgot what the hell it's called. But you basically have two, like, really crazy swords. The Mortal Blade is basically only used for, like, I don't know, big damage or something like that. I have it, but I haven't really used it too much, so I can't speak too much on it. But it's mainly, it kills you, essentially, whenever you use it. So, in order to use your revive mechanic, you need the Mortal Blade, or if you want to use the Mortal Blade, you need the revive. So basically, when you use the Mortal Blade, if you don't have a revive, you're gonna kill yourself. And those are your two like main swords. As far as your prosthetic tool goes, you have a variety of things. You've got a goddamn shield, you've got Sabimaru, which is just like this weird kind of like dagger katana thing, I don't know what the hell it's called. You've got a spear, you've got fucking firecrackers, you've got a goddamn firebender flame fist, you've got like a mist cloud, you've got a fan, you've got literally a shit ton of tools that you can put on your prosthetic in order to actually enhance your experience, and they all have some kind of like application. They're not all totally useless. Obviously there are some that kind of are like, why would I ever use that, but you can still use it. They all have some form of application. It's just a matter of like some have more than the others. Now one thing I do have to make clear when it comes to the prosthetics, they are not necessarily like major weapons in the game. They're more like they're more just kind of to help you get through certain aspects. Like, for example, if you use the firecrackers, then the idea for that is you use it on like a boss like Gyobu who rides on a horse, so you throw the firecrackers down and it stuns the horse because it freaks it out. So it has an applicable, situation, but the problem is it's not always useful. Like, some bosses are just not really affected by it, or some bosses are less affected by it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point being is that it has some form of application to maybe one specific boss or maybe another. It just depends. Now let's talk about the boss fights. As far as that goes, it can be just an absolute just mind breaker. Your will be absolutely destroyed. Like the first time I played this, I have a funny moments on it if you guys want to check it out. The first mini boss, mind you, mini boss I fought literally took me 40 minutes to actually get past because I could not figure out for the life of me how to parry. I couldn't find the timing. I didn't understand what I was supposed to do. So it's kind of in the same sense of Dark Souls, where it takes you a while to understand the mechanics, and you have to kind of memorize what move does what, and when you have to jump, when you have to back away, when you have to parry, deflect, so on and so forth. And it's one of those things that it's just an ungodly amount of challenging, and it's good. It's genuinely good, because once you figure it out, you feel like, oh dude, yes, I did it, I fucking got it, I know what I need to do now. And it gives you that sense of feeling. And then once you beat the boss, you kind of just learn and you move on forward. You're like, okay, now I know how to do this for the next run, or maybe I can apply what I learned from this boss to the next boss. Believe it or not, when it comes to Sekiro boss fights, they're not necessarily boss fights, they're more like lessons. Every boss fight you learn something new. Just as an example, when I fought Lady Butterfly, she's a very aggressive opponent, and I had to learn how to deflect. That whole aspect helped me fight Genichiro, and he is just also another aggressive person, but his deflect requires a lot more just absolute precision, or else he'll fucking murder you in like 2 seconds. Not that Lady Butterfly can't do that, but Genichiro is just an absolutely just an ass fucking thing. He's got a bow, he's got a crazy sword, this man summons lightning, so you really just have to be on your A game. And that pretty much covers the bosses and most like the mechanics and stuff like that. I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't bought the game, but it's pretty much just a great like experience overall when it comes to just the combat, the gameplay, the boss fights. It's all just great. Now I want to address some of the stuff that can be probably not very fun for people. So as you guys know, ungodly amount of hard. It's literally one of the hardest games out there, and that's just not for everybody. I get people in my comment sections all the time that are like, "Hey, I'm gonna stop playing this game because I can't beat this boss." And it's like, man, you wasted a lot of fucking money because you can't beat a boss. So now you're just gonna shelf a game because you can't beat it. So I don't want you guys to buy the game if you're just like, if I can't beat this one boss, I'm just gonna quit forever and just never play again. Like, that's a waste of money. So it is incredibly hard. Don't buy the game if you really are just that kind of person. It's not for you. Now, moving on past that, unfortunately, this game is not exactly like Dark Souls, and it does not have a multiplayer aspect. There is no PvP, there is no cooperative PvE, there is nothing like that. It is a completely single-player experience. Now, as you guys know, I am a big advocate for just games having an absolute, always having some kind of cooperative aspect, whether it be a horde mode, different game mode, different storyline, different bosses, I don't care. There should always be an option to play cooperatively. So I'm not going to say that this game, gets away with that, because I still believe that multiplayer could have been put into this game, but I'm not mad that there isn't. This is the one game where I'm like, okay, I get it. If they were to put multiplayer in this game, it would completely just ruin the game in general. A lot of the boss fights are meant to be like dueled out. It's not supposed to be, I'm gonna just, block everything and then have my buddy, swing around back and just cheese him. Even though there's a lot of cheese strategies in this game, it's like multiplayer would completely just ruin every boss fight essentially. So though I think they could have put multiplayer in some other aspect, whether that be a PvP mode or some kind of other mode where you're just kind of maybe, I don't know, going through hordes of enemies and just, cutting people down, or I don't know how they could have done it, but I feel like it could have been there. But again, it's fine. They want to focus on a single player experience, and I'm okay with that. And that pretty much concludes everything that I mainly want to talk about. It's a really hard game, but it's really rewarding once you actually get through it, and if you take the time to learn everything, you're gonna have an enjoyable experience. But if you're an impatient gamer, and if you're a person that likes to play multiplayer, this game is probably not for you. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.